Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, in a world where we have a lot of choice, there are a lot of choices, there are a lot of online tutorials, lots of how-tos, lots of new products being shown, lots of all the good things. And whilst that is awesome and is amazing, I always know that when you see something and you see how the product works, you think that's really, really cool and that's what I need to be able to do this. Well, my channel is one that I started when I want there to be another way. There's always another way to do something, if not the same, then very, very similar. And so I have made a video today where I'm going to show you just how easy it is to sort of repeat depending on what you have. We can recreate, and it's just about training your mind to be like, okay, what have I got that I can use? Because sometimes, don't get me wrong, it is fabulous to purchase a new product, and often that is what will spark some creativity. It also does help support creators when you use their links, of course, so those are all good things, and we need all of those too to help support them and keep going forward. However, there is always another way, and I'm going to be using all of these products today, so hopefully you've got something similar. So I'm trying to cover off lots of bases, whether that be paints, whether it be scribble sticks, whether it be inks, whether it be pastes, whether it be, we can make it, okay? We can do it. And I am going to make a gorgeous little card at the end for you as well. Now, speaking of using what we have and making the most of things, I also have a website, natashafootecreative.com. Here is the QR code if you'd like to scan it, and it will take you straight to the website. But I also have the same philosophy over there, but we go into more detail. There is also card making classes. There is absolutely a ton of videos over there, and I also am doing some year-long series. I did an entire year-long series last year, and I have started a brand new one this year as well. So pop on over and you can see more of the Natasha videos that you love over there as well, and that also helps support me, which I really do appreciate. Now we are going to crank into today. So I am going to put down this little scrapbook.com mat. This is just a silicone mat that is going to help keep things tidy, and I can clean everything up. I'm using some Tim Holtz watercolor paper. Now I'm using the same paper for every product today, just to keep things relatively fair. Doesn't have to be Tim Holtz, it can just be a watercolor paper because we are going to be adding water to this medium. Today I'm going to be starting off with the oxides because these ones are relatively obvious and you'll see them often as well. These are a hybrid ink. They're not just a straight dye ink, they have some properties of the pigment inks as well. Today I'm going to be using all of these products in a watercolor-ish way. Distress oxides are water reactive, which means they're going to work perfect as watercolors. I have just popped them down onto the silicone mat. Then I've added some water from a spray bottle. That's what's in there. I have the continuous sprayer, which I absolutely love for a fine mist, but I'm just using it as a water bottle today. And then I'm just popping down a random background of color. Now I've sort of got two different colors I'm going for. I've got the tumbled glass and I've got peacock feathers. So sort of like a light blue and then a bluey greenish turquoise sort of color. That's what I'm going for in most of my products. And then I'm going to dry it off, add some splatter using the darkest color, and that's pretty much what I'm going to do throughout all of these. Now, I am speeding through these. These are sped up a little bit. So this is the Distress Oxide one finished, but I'm speeding them up just so that we can sort of get through the process. It's more about the fact that you can see how similar we can get these results, because it is amazing. When you see a product being used on a tutorial or a video or in a magazine or something like that, I really urge you to think, what have I got? What can I make work? And if you don't have the same colors, then of course it's going to look slightly different. Or if you don't have the same product, but just work with what you have, and that is what I'm showing you here today. I'm moving on to the pure dye inks. So these are the Dina dye inks. Again, any water reactive dye inks are going to be similar. And of course, I don't have the full sets of Oxide inks or Dina inks. I don't have the full set of anything. And so I am just working with the types of colors that I have. So that was Ocean Mist and Tranquil Teal for the Dina dye inks. Now, what about paint? Can I use paint? The few paints that I have chosen to go with are the Dina Wakley acrylic paints. Now, this is pretty much the only paints I have in my stash that I have a range of colours. I do have a couple of metallic ones, but these are also fantastic if you would like to water them down, and you can do the same technique. So I put down a base of water to create where I want the colour to go, and then I'm going to add in some of the paint, which you can add water to. You can make, it's quite it's a heavy bodied paint, so it's quite a thick consistency when it comes out of that little tube, and a tiny little bit goes a long way, which I love. They are really good quality and have lasted me so long. None of them have dried up or anything like that. I've actually not even used an entire paint bottle yet, and I'm waiting for that to happen, but they are lasting me forever. And I would say I've used these quite a lot over the last few years. So this is definitely a good quality product for me. I'm going to add a little bit of splatter on this one, and then we have our acrylic paints all done. Most acrylic paints you are able to water down, so don't forget that. If you have them in your stash, then give them a go. You may have something like Scribble sticks. Now there are definitely lots of different versions out. These, Tim Holtz has some. Faber-Castell has the gelatos that have similar properties to these. Lots of different versions out there. I just have these Dina Wakley Scribble sticks. Again, I'm not going to have perfect matching colours, but I did want to use similar colours so that your mind can sort of read and see the similarities between what we're creating here. We can make this work. If you see someone creating this background and they're doing it with the Distress Oxide inks, but that's not what you have, then we are always going to be able to find another option. Now, don't get me wrong, when it is something like a focal point, like a particular focal point, then something that's not super common, then absolutely. Sometimes it's great to splash out. It's great to get a new product. And as I said, that's what helps inspire me. So I'm not saying don't buy them, but especially when it comes to making these backgrounds or products that we use to colour with, to add the finer details, things like stencils, things like backgrounds, we are able to recreate and do a pretty good job, I would say. So I do dry. Now I am getting the splatter absolutely everywhere. So I'm going to pop these ones away before I absolutely cake all of the Scribble sticks. And I just got out a different darker colour blue there because the others were fairly similar. As I said, I'm working with what I've got. I don't have full sets of anything, so trying to keep all these colour comparisons for you was a little bit tricky, just going with what I have. And then at this point, they all started to look so similar that I figured I actually better write on the back of these, just so that I seriously know which one I'm going to be using and showing. As I said, I'm going to turn these into a card at the end of it. And I sort of had an idea of what I wanted, which is hence the background sort of shape that I've gone with, but that didn't end up happening. We ended up turning it upside down anyway, so that's fine. You'll see that in just a minute. Now, Lunar pastes are something, these are from Simon Hurley. There are lots of different pastes out there. This is just what I happen to have. I think this one is called Deep Diving or No Diving or Diving Board or something like that. I have all of these products linked down below. And as I have mentioned, when you use these, it is really, really helpful and it supports creators. So thank you for those that if you're going to purchase something, thank you for using those links. But anyhow, again, these, you can add water to these and these are beautiful for ending up sort of watercoloring and blending these together. Again, I don't have the exact colors. So for the darker one, I actually mixed some of that green and which I think is Tropical Tango and some of the No Diving just so I could get a little bit of a darker blue, but it's not perfect, but that's okay. And then I'm going to use some of the darker blue to do the splatter again. Again, I'm drying this before the splatter because if I added that on, then that would end up just melting into the background if everything was wet on wet. I want to be adding the wet on top of a dry background. So I use my little paintbrush for some splatter, but you can add water to these beautiful Lunar pastes and you can do all sorts of gorgeous techniques rather than using them directly as a paste, which they are also fabulous to use as is. Right, we've got this one done and dusted. We are getting through these. This is a long video for today. Thank you so much for making your way through this. I promise, as I said, we have a pretty cute card at the end. Now, these are some watercolors. These are from Prima. I don't believe these are available anymore, but I have linked the similar sets down below. This one is called Confetti, and I would say this is just, I don't know much about watercolor, if anything at all, but these are just a Joe Blog sort of set. They are good. There's a great range of colors. They're nice and pigmented, so I really like these and I have stuck with them. As I said, I don't think they are available, but I'm sure if you did some Googling as well, you may be able to find them. But I'm sure there are plenty others very similar, if not just like this. So I'm putting some splatter on. Again, these colours aren't perfect match because we're going across a whole different range of products here. But look at that. We have 6 different backgrounds using 6 different medias, and yet they all look really similar. We have achieved 6 really similar results. So, sometimes it just takes thinking outside and thinking, what else have I got that I can make work with that? Now, as I said, we are turning this into a card, and I recently, I think over the Christmas break, AALL Create had this sale on, a really good sale, and I picked up these gorgeous little fish. I absolutely love these little creatures, and this is what I mean by we can sort of have the backgrounds that we can make do, and we can use what we've got, we can change things up, but it is really nice to have a few little focal points and bits and pieces, and for me that is the fish sort of thing, and so because I had the blue backgrounds, I was like, actually maybe I'll change this into this. So this one is pretty cute. I'm going to stamp these out in some VersaFine Onyx black ink. I have popped over a layer of clear embossing powder. I'm going to use my tri-blend markers, which are alcohol markers, to colour in these fish. I am doing some funky, gorgeous fish. On the packaging, there are all sorts of funky colours, and I was like, right, I love that. I love the look. So that's what we're going to add onto these gorgeous little fish. With these alcohol markers, I'm sure you've heard me talk about them before. Again, this has been one of my #1 investments. I am not a big I don't often use alcohol markers. I use them more now that I've found a set that I can really work with. But I wouldn't say it's my forte or that's something that I'm particularly good at. But these markers, as I'm sure you've heard me talk about, have 3 different pens in one barrel, and they have a light, a medium, and a dark shade of the pen, which means you don't have to have 3 pens hanging around. It means you automatically have the colors all in one pen that you can do that beautiful shading with the alcohol markers. So you don't have to do any of the hard work, which is absolutely what I need, given that these are not my particular forte. So I absolutely highly recommend. I bought the 24 pack of essential markers. It was a bit of an investment. I just waited for a sale. A little bit of an investment. However, it gives you 72 different colors because there's 3 in each one, and I absolutely do not regret that one bit. I have loved those. Now I have the Just Because. Now this is a set. I have unfortunately heard that Woodware or Creative Expressions is closing down, and so all of their products are becoming very hard to find, and so I am going to stock up on a couple of little ones just that I've always sort of wanted but always held back on. I might actually get a couple more. And this one here, this Fancy Birds one, there's a whole set of different looking birds in this style, and I desperately want one of the other ones, so I think I'm going to purchase that. But just know that from here on, when I use these gorgeous Woodware products, they are very hard to come by, and they are selling out so fast because there's no more stock, I assume, and so it is very tricky. If you are interested, you can check the links below, and I just hope that they are not out of stock, but lots of them are. So if you can't find them, that's probably because I haven't been able to find them either. So I fussy cut out the fish. I'm going around the edges in some black Sharpie just to make my fussy cutting look better than it actually is, because that is a great secret. I have this little what is this? It's not ribbon. It's gorgeous little twine burlap ribbon sort of thing, but to me this kind of looks like a fishnet, and so I'm going to pop this in the background. I'm going to use some art glitter glue and then make sure I've got the sides really well glued down, and then just put random little pieces underneath, and some of this will be covered, so there's going to be plenty of glue there to hold on to all of this and make sure it stays in place. But as I said, this was not the plan for my original card. Now you saw that I cut out the Just Because just the outside of it, not the lettering. And then I decided that I just wanted a plain rectangle. So then I cut off those gorgeous little edges that it creates, but then they were hanging around and I thought I may as well use those to add to this because they kind of remind me of waves as well. Now there are some gorgeous little bubbles in this set that I'm going to add above the little fish. And then I have stamped the Life is Better with Friends. That's what came from that gorgeous little Woodware birds stamp set. And then I'm going to pop up the little fish on some foam tape. I'm using the 1mm foam tape, but I'm doubling it up so it is 2mm. And then this, as I said, this card came together really quickly, but this was not at all my plan. But I do love these gorgeous little fish. And then something else that I'm really obsessed with adding in little details at the moment, you could add on some like Wink of Stella, some glitter pens. You could add on some glossy accents, which I am going to do. I'm going to add some glossy accents onto the bubbles and onto the eyes of the fish. And then I'm also going to add some diamond stickles. I have really come back into this, loving using the diamond stickles. And I'm going to just highlight their fins using the gorgeous, it just creates this like shimmery, you'll see a little bit in the end photos on here that there is just this gorgeous shimmer from that little diamond stickles. Now here's where I'm going to add in some of the waves, and I just cut them a little bit shorter and sort of tuck them just ever so slightly. You know, if I was planning and I had thought about this better, I might not have cut these off in certain places, but I quite like that they just add that extra little element around the edge. And waste not, want not. I think they work really well. Then I cut off the extra once the glue has had a little chance to dry and it's all in place. But this was a really fun little card to put together. I really enjoyed this, albeit, as I said, not my original plan, but that's okay because plans can change. Here is the glossy accents and the stickles, which, as I said, I'm just going to pop on their fins, and then I do the glossy accents on the eyes and the bubbles. You could add in a couple of little embellishments, like some shiny little sequins. They could go on top of the bubbles if you had some nice clear ones. You could add in some blue ones. But yeah, this was a really quick, easy, gorgeous card that I made. But more importantly, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you have learnt, or at least sort of refreshed your memory that we can use those different products to create a very similar look. So thank you so much for joining me, and I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye!